This is easily one of my favourite films this year, so I really want you to go and see it, and I want you to take the whole family. I know it's rated PG because some scenes may scare young children, but let me go through what that really means, and then you can make a decision about how scary you think it might be for your own child. Because personally, I didn't find it a particularly scary film. I guess it's just some of the images and some themes might cause some concern for kids. So starting with the violence, there's a few battle scenes through the film. One of them is, there's a couple of sword battles and these kind of things. There's battles between these origami figures, which are extraordinary. And this kind of touches on the blood and gore as well, because these origami figures, even though they're only paper figures, some of them get hacked up and cut. So it looks like they're being, violently hacked and attacked, but of course it's just paper. And these are figures, animal figures like sharks and things like that. There is one, probably the most violent scene for me, was there a scene between one character and these two kind of witchy kind of characters. And one of the witch characters has this chain. On the chain is a hook or a claw on the end of the chain. And this witchy character whips the chain towards the other characters, trying to clasp them in these hooks. There is one slight achievement of success with this, and this character is kind of hooked on the side before the chain is removed. And you do see some bloody cuts and scratches on this creature's side from being kind of caught by this hook on the end of the chain. There is also a scene at the end where a small boy is, attacked, I suppose, but it's quite a desperate scene where this figure, I don't really want to ruin it for you by telling you what kind of creature it is, but it's this sort of underworld or otherworld kind of long, creepy looking thing, centipede-ish, which tries to capture the small boy. And we don't really know if the boy is being sought after because this creature wants to kill him or wants to kind of capture him and take him away. But either way, it's quite a tense scene, and this boy has to battle this particular creature. So that really kind of sums up the violence. Like I said, probably the most violent parts are where these origami little creatures get hacked by this little samurai guy with a sword, and you see these creatures being sort of chopped up. There's also a scene where some fish are caught, and the fish are cut up into sashimi and then eaten. And so if your little one's a vegetarian or doesn't like the idea or doesn't really understand where food comes from or finds it a bit difficult to watch a fish being chopped up and eaten, then there's that scene as well. One other scene I should mention is this giant skeleton figure comes to life, and our heroes battle this creature. And what's probably most eerie about this creature is that it has swords sticking out of its skull. So that's a little bit creepy too. Another thing with the blood and gore is apart from the little paper, when the paper is cut up, those little origami creatures I mentioned, when they are cut up, there's little spurts of red paper that fly out of these to represent blood. So that's a little bit icky. So keep an eye out for that as well. But like I said, it's not really, I don't think it's really scary. It's a little bit tense and it's a little bit dark, which probably adds to the feeling of this being perhaps somewhat scary for children. But that really is it. I think there's also, where some other sense of fear might come into it, is there's really interesting discussion of family and themes of family in this film. On one hand, there's this amazing, beautiful discussion of family where we talk about our loved ones who have deceased, and it's celebrated through a Japanese festival where people go to the cemetery and they light lanterns and talk to those who have passed on. And this is beautiful, and it's a lovely way, even though you do see some kind of ghostly figures appear, the idea of these dead ones, loved ones returning to have these conversations with the living. That's a lovely opportunity, I think, to talk about the people who have gone before us and what it feels, like to lose someone close to us. On the other hand, though, our heroes are actually chased and pursued by members of their family. And so again, if this is something that if you have a family which is in conflict, particularly if your child is involved or you yourself are involved, with some kind of major sibling dispute or a dispute with your father or a child's grandfather, then this might bring up some kind of emotional and personal feelings, because this is a subject which is dealt with in the film. But not all families are happy families. There's also some scenes of loss. So you see a mother die, you see a father die. So again, this can be a very sensitive subject for some people. But that, I think sums up the violence and the blood and gore the best I can. On to sex and nudity, there isn't any. There's a little bit of flirting between two characters, but that is absolutely it. Likewise, the swearing. There's no swearing at all during the film. One character does say food, and when he begins to say the F word, the joke is it's sounding like another F word, but of course it isn't. And likewise, alcohol and drugs. There's nothing at all in the film to do with alcohol, drugs. In one scene, you do see someone smoking a pipe. So that's the only reference to smoking. One other scene I do want to mention is an underwater scene, and one of our heroes appears to be about to drown because they are kind of kept under the water in a hypnotic state. And there's scenes of giant eyeballs in this scene as well. And when they're kind of poked with a sword, this ink comes out of the eyeballs. It looks a bit like blood, but underwater blood. So as I said, to me, I didn't find it particularly scary. I took all three of my children, the youngest is 4, and they loved it. They thought it was amazing. Like I said, for me, this is the film of the year so far. I can't rate it highly enough in terms of the storytelling, the animation, the use of sound, the music. Everything is just extraordinary. And when you really understand how this film is made, the stop motion animation blended with the CGI, blended with the cartoonish animation, it's just mind-blowing. Beautiful to look at, absolutely superb. At the end credits, you do see a snapshot of the team at Leica building these characters. So you do then get a sense of the extraordinary detail and man hours it must have gone into creating this incredible film. Please go and see it. Please go and love it. And leave me your thoughts below when you do. Of course, there's more detail on the website, which is cinemum.net.